Hi, the topic is how to be highly effective, and I'm focusing on prioritization. But before you can prioritize, you have to look at these two factors: your ability to define yourself, and then the sacrifice that is involved. So we begin with defining yourself. You see, being able to define yourself is a battle everybody fights in this world. Sometimes you may not accept it, but it's a reality, it's real. So everybody is in the battle, in the war of establishing himself, defining themselves. So it's very, very important, because the society itself, created a model without your consent. The society created a world and leave you aside, see you as an outsider. And that is why the major objective in this life is your ability to establish yourself, your ability to define yourself. Because if you don't define yourself, you are lost in the maze of things. So that's why defining yourself is the first step towards moving the society, towards, making a difference in the world. Whether it is Nelson Mandela or Abraham Lincoln or George Bush or any Tony Blair, everybody struggled with this one, defining yourself. Because defining yourself involves being unique, being who you are created to be. Because the social environment has made it in a way that they've created a different world. That is a world upon world. And when they created this world, they didn't put into consideration. So when you come out, you have to battle with identifying who you are, establishing it. The forces that are holding you back are numerous, like the barriers we see in the society. You see, they said there's a glass ceiling. Then you see people identifying you for a particular category. They've categorized you. They've identified you and categorized you on a particular place. So if you don't have the self-will, you live a normal life. You become normal. And you see, because 99% of people struggle, in fact, they are struggling to be normal. Because when you are normal, you've been swept across. So that's why it is critical. Every day, every time, you've got to establish yourself. You got to stand on your feet. You got to say, this is who I am. Because if you don't say it, the world won't say it for you. So everybody, including Jesus Christ and everyone, they all established themselves. From Paul, Jesus Christ, Moses, you have to identify yourself. Bring out that which is unique. Because there is a value you possess. And that value must be given to the world. Yet that value has to help you achieve something. It has to help you establish a particular thing in your life. So if you're not doing that, you have lost the plot. So that is why the issue of defining yourself is very, very important. Because the society do not want you to become yourself. If you try it, for instance, write a book and see how the society will snub it. Or decide to say you don't want to be the normal person, like working 9 to 5. You see how the battle starts. You see, people coming from different areas to fight you. So you need to be strong enough, you need to have this will, even to understand it, even to be conscious of your environment. A lot of people are not conscious of the environment. And because they are not conscious of the environment, they don't see these things I'm talking about. They see it as a mere saying, they see it as something to pass by. They don't give a damn, they don't care. But time will come when you want to do something, and you want to do something that comes from inside of you. That is where the problem comes. That is where the challenge comes. That is where you find out that it's not easy. That's why you see me, I'm talking every day. I am trying to establish myself. I am trying to define myself, because there is something inside of me which I need to deliver. I possess a value, and I must deliver it. So that's why it's very, very important, because you cannot observe, you cannot produce this uniqueness without establishing yourself, because this uniqueness is so important, it's so essential, that it contains the grain of their message in this world. From Steve Jobs to Nelson Mandela to Muhammad Ali, all of them, delivered their gifts. They delivered their value. They made a difference. You can't make a difference without identifying who you are. So that's why it's a battle, 24-hour battle, 365 days battle. That is the first thing. Who are you? Have you been able to establish yourself? Are you proud of yourself? Are you hiding, behind other people? Are you sitting on the fence? Are you keeping silence? Are you watching? Have you been able to see yourself inside the ring? You know what I mean? When you get yourself inside the ring, it's a two-man battle. It's fight to finish. That is the battle you are facing. You might not be conscious of it. But anytime you step out and you say, look, this is who I am, you will refer to this video. I'm telling you, you try to play this video, but for now, you don't have problem. So that is the problem we are saying now, is identifying yourself. I'll tell you a story of a lady, a British-born, a Ghanaian-born lady. I came across her video on the YouTube. I was listening to what she was saying, and I know that her facts are immutable. Her facts are very clear. First and foremost, being a lady is a problem. And then being a black person in an English environment, in the Western world, is also addressing some challenge. So when she decided to define herself through her work, the establishment, rebuffed her. First of all, they told her, look, check the history, check out the facts. There hasn't been any female filmmaker or a film producer that was able to sell her movie in the Western world. So this is a myth they sold to her. And this is the model the society has prepared for her. But she was very courageous. She decided to reject this myth. Most of us, once we step out and we are faced with this challenge, what do? We absorb it, we swallow it and accept it, and then it becomes part of us. Then we begin to live a normal life. Then we begin to be nobody, because you never stood for yourself. So this lady decided to say, look, she needs to define herself. First and foremost, she said she was terrified, because the society, has a tradition, has a way they look at, women, not to talk of, a black lady in a Western world. She had to face this battle. She has to convince herself because she said she was highly terrified. So how is she gonna conduct, produce and control even the male, the male or the white people that she has to send the movie to, even the people she has to conduct, the team, the crew. How is she gonna get the confidence? Are they gonna trust her? Are they gonna believe in her? These were the battles that were, ramming all down her throat and her mind. So it wasn't easy. But she continued. She even to a point that even when she went to Ghana, she faced the same obstacle. They said, "Oh, Amma, your accent is British. You are not fully a Ghanaian lady." You see, even in Ghana, she had to battle it. Then coming down here in England, they say, "Oh, you are not English. You are not British." So she had to battle with this kind of misconception. It took her a great deal of courage. She found herself as somebody, outside the system, because the society, didn't put her into consideration. The environment didn't put her into consideration because she doesn't fit into the ideal person, that could produce a movie that could be sold. So it wasn't easy. Her category, her pedigree wasn't the one that I expected. But she defied this odd. She went against this odd. You see, our responsibility is to defy the odd. You see, most people who have value to present to the world sometimes fail to do that because they are giving credence to what the society think about them. They are paying attention to what the society, they are trying to accept the model the society has built. The society has bestowed on them the kind of, invisible environment, invisible, model the society has built. So for you to get rid of this, you have to, you have to think twice. You have to say to yourself, look, how come I'm in the world, but I'm not accepted? How come I'm in the world and there is no provision for me? So in this life, you have to defy the odd. You have to go against the odd. Whether sometimes you feel, you came from a poor family. Sometimes you think, maybe your height is not enough, or you are not the smart one. But I'm here to tell you that, look, these things, these excuses do not exist. It exists only in your mind. The society created it and handed it over to you, but it's your responsibility to reject it. It's your responsibility to stand on your feet and say, look, I got to define myself. Because most of us don't know that your environment is not meant to rule over you. Your social or economic environment is not meant to control you. It's not meant to rule over you in any way. If you look at the history, you will see great people who came from a poor family, but they rose to a level which many people thought it wasn't possible for them. You will see people who were not the best in the school because the academic system has already built a particular thing for a particular set of people, and they ignore the other people who learn in a different way and then call them as people who are outsiders and abandon them. But these people came all the way and conquer, came all the way and defied. So it's the ability to defy this social environment. It's the ability for you to say, look, I am proud of my origin. I am proud of where I came from. I'm proud of myself, and I'm capable of delivering my values. Because God wouldn't have given you this value, this message, if you were not prepared. If He didn't give you enough ingredients. So our responsibility here, first and foremost, is being able to define ourselves. Are you defining yourself at the moment? Have you ever questioned yourself and said, look, I got to define myself? If you look at the mirror, what the society is offering you is not who you are. I'm telling you, you got to reject it. Because if you are living a normal life, you will never know how amazing you are, according to my Maya Angelou, Maya Angelou said, if you are struggling to be normal, you won't be able to know how amazing you could be. So it is your ability to say, look, I'm not going to be normal, because God didn't create you to be normal. God didn't create you to be a mediocre or to be average. You are a genius. But you got to find the area for which this ingenuity lies. You are not a genius in everything. Some people are geniuses in speaking. Some people are geniuses in using the computer. Some people are genius in imagination, using their talent, using different things. But you got to define your own. You got to find out your own. Because if you don't find out your own, you become a spectator in this world. Then if you don't find out your own, you won't experience this thing I'm telling you. But a lot of people even found out their own, but they didn't have the willpower to say, I'm going to establish myself. Several times, once you set out to do something, you will see it could be your parents. It could be your sisters. It could be your wife. It could be anybody. They talk down on that thing you want to do. You saw Joseph. When Joseph told his father he had a dream, his father talked down on it, even though the father was a man of God. The brothers nearly killed him for that. So the same thing applies to you. If you rise up and say you want to become yourself, you will begin to see a lot of people. Sometimes they call you on the phone and say, look, why do you want to do this? Sometimes they say, oh, look, you were not the best in the class. But they forgot that the world is a new environment. Classroom, what happens in the classroom is not what happens outside. Even though whatever you learn in the classroom, by the time you are graduated, it's changed, it's different. So it is not what people told you you are, is who you are. You have to reject it. Like myself, I had to fight every day. I have to reject it. In fact, it's one of the purposes I do this video every time. Because I'm battling over it. I'm saying, this is who I am. You are not the one to define me. Because one, you don't know me. So how dare you define me? How dare you tell me what I'm fitted to do? These people, these outsiders who are trying to define you, these are the people we are talking about that create the environment for you. Then, if you are not conscious of it, you simply sleepwalk into it. And then they close the whole thing. And you'll be left there forever. And you will never know, that you could fly. They said a bird that was born in a cage will never know they could fly. So if you are born in certain area, certain environment, you probably wouldn't know you could do different things. So but now is the opportunity. The social media is there. Information is there to encourage you, to give you the momentum to rise up to the plate. It is essential you start waking up, taking responsibility, because that is the only way to tap into the abundance you already possess. God made in such a way that if you know who you are, you will defy all logic. You will defy all odds. You will defy what critics say. Because the critics are like heavy blankets on you. They are coming to tell you, look, you don't know what you're talking about. You couldn't speak. You couldn't pass the exam. You couldn't pass this. You were expelled. You were this. These are what the society builds every day. I have experienced it myself. People who do not know you, all of a sudden, develop apathy, develop hatred. Sometimes they go to the extent of trying to kill you. Because sometimes if you allow them, they give you an advice. Myself, when it comes to my vision, I don't take advice. Because I don't trust your advice, because you probably have ulterior motive. Because people are very subtle. They will give you advice. You think that advice is genuine. You don't know that they were meant to destroy you, to derail you. And then if you accept such advice, you find yourself in the hole, which you probably won't come out again. So this is why it is necessary for you to define yourself. So even things, countries, people, they define themselves. So if people call you a role in the mill, you shouldn't accept it. If people call you that you don't know anything, you shouldn't accept it. You should continue, because you are alone. You know, your spirit, your intuition could tell you who you are. Because what the society normally build is on something that is a myth that they cannot define. You know, the society is like the blind, groping. They don't know who you are. So this is why it is critical, it is important that you have to define yourself. You have to stand on your feet. You have to say no to critics. One moment. So you have to say no to critics. For instance, when we started this publishing of our magazine, C-Hub magazine, almost all my friends, almost everybody said, look, I'm wasting my time, that we couldn't publish it, that we are not suited to do that. We don't belong to the pedigree that, published a magazine. One of them even called me and started, who gave you this idea? How did you get this idea? Then the next one over called me and said, look, so why didn't you tell me that you wanted to start publishing the magazine? I told you before that I'm a publisher. I used to be a publisher in one newspaper, this is in Nigeria. But how come you started it? You didn't tell me. You should have told me. We have combined. Some people will ignore you. Some people will even make it impossible and campaign so that the magazine won't sell. So these are the challenges you got to fix out. So if you're starting a business, You have to, first of all, look at the barriers. What are the barriers? What are the obstacles? So once you've identified these obstacles, then you can now know how to navigate your way around it. You can now negotiate your way out of it. Look at the river. When the river gets into the mountain area, what does the river do? What does the river do? The river negotiates its way around the mountain. The same way you're expected to negotiate your way. The obstacles must be there. The challenges must be there. But you got to negotiate your way around it. Don't allow the obstacle to block you. Don't allow the obstacle to stop you. If you allow the obstacle to stop you, that means you haven't got the willpower. That means you are listening to naysayers. That means you don't know who you are. That means you don't know that you've been abundantly endowed. How long are we going to say this? Don't underestimate yourself. I am telling you in private and in public that God has made you God because he gave you the same will he possesses. He gave you his image. So when you are in trouble, you revert to his image. In difficult time, revert to God's image. That's what he gave you. That's all you need to conquer every problem. There is no power that is beyond God. And he has given you his image. It's ignorance that is making a lot of people not to follow their vision. Now, this leads me to what I call sacrifice. So, in life, you will be tested. God will allow you to be tested. Now, let's look at the first scenario. Abraham, the father of faith. Now, here is a man. He has been a friend of God for so long. And he has been asking God for one thing because already God had blessed him with wealth and every other thing. So he wanted a heir. God promised him. After like more than 50 years, at 99 years, God gave him that heir, that son, Isaac. But God told him, look, you got to sacrifice this Isaac for me. So if you were with Abraham, how will you look at it? How are you going to perceive this? Is a difficult option. That is always what happens to us. We are always faced with a difficult option. Now, the option Abraham had was, which one is his relationship with God and or his relationship with his son? Which one takes priority? Now, these two things are important, his son and God. Now, God said, look, choose. Majority of us will say, look, my relationship with my son, who's the heir, is more important. But Abraham was a wise man. He said his relationship with God trumps everything. He said, forget about my son, forget about my relationship with my son and everything. What matters is my relationship with God. That was the decision Abraham made. Majority of us cannot do it. Why most of us are poor today? Because when it comes to this crossroad, we can't take this kind of decision. Because it involves your ego. It involves you abandoning your family sometimes. But you've forgotten that the top thing that comes in this life is your relationship with God. So even in your marriage, in your business. It could be applied in your marriage. You might be facing a problem, a challenge like this. Is it your ego or your marriage that comes in? Most people will choose their ego as of their marriage. There comes a time in the marriage you are faced with this text. So which one will you choose? Because the one you choose will determine where you're going to go. Sometimes that's how it plays. Even in business. Why many people don't engage in business? Because it's always come to this test. They might tell you, look, I'm not interested in business. Look, let me work my 9 to 5. I don't care. I make my money. I have my car. I have my house. But deep down, they have just sold themselves. They sold themselves short by not being who they are. Because most times by working for somebody for several times, several years, you wipe out who you are. Because you settle completely, you become this normal person. Maya Angelou said is a horrible thing, being a normal person. Because you'll be counted as them people. Because you never stood for yourself. You never stood for who you are. So this is why most people say, well, 95% of people, 99% of people will never step out of their comfort zone. They might pretend, oh, they're living, but down there they are seething, they are dying. Because anybody who never became himself always died before his death. And that is why 99% of people are never happy. Look, I do see some people, you have Lexus, you have the best house, you have houses almost everywhere in the world. But why are you not happy? You have your children, you have your beautiful wife. Why are you not happy? You book a flight to Germany, you book a flight to America, you book a flight to New York, everywhere, yet you're not happy. Because you know within yourself, there was something you should change yourself. Abraham could have shortchanged himself. So the issue is this sacrifice. When this sacrifice comes, are you ready to know that this is a testing time? Are you ready to, prioritize? Are you ready to forgo something? This applies to many of the black people. We are always looking at people to help us. We are always saying, oh, people are disrespecting us, because people have understood that you are not ready to forgo anything that is of importance. You are ready to forgo your value. You are ready to forgo your goal in life. And that's it. Because anybody who is not operating on his uniqueness has lost the plot. Because that is the message. That is the value you have. That is why God sent you here. So time comes where you'll be tested. Abraham was tested. Jesus Christ was tested. So you can preach as much as you like because you'll be tested. The reason you are not happy is because you deny yourself. You've denied who you are and accepted what the society say you are. And then in the night you don't sleep. Even though you have the whole money in the world. When you hear about death, you start running helter-skelter. Because you are not prepared. Because you've not done what you're supposed to do. Your conscience will tell you, look, you've not done it. So it is very, very essential we prioritize. We ask ourselves, what is the message? Why am I here? You are not here to come and eat in the morning, eat in the afternoon, and eat in the night, and go to the toilet and flush it out. You are abundantly giving. Even though sometimes it looks as if you don't have, but you have enough. By nature and by the way we look at things, it looks as if you don't have, but I'm telling you, you possess enough. You are abundantly giving. What happens is that you allow what the society sell to you to deceive you, because the society is very subtle. They are very clever. It's like the serpent. You got to be wiser than the serpent. They'll be subtle and tell you, oh, why not go and when you graduate, you just look at a job, do that. Before you know it, you've sold yourself. You walk throughout your life and you never stood for who you are. And when time to come to burial, you want to plan the biggest burial. For what? You want to plan the biggest burial thinking that by having the whole world coming to your burial will make impact. It won't make impact. You've lost it. You cannot eat your cake and have it. Because you never stood for who you are. Because you were not ready to sacrifice anything. You are not ready to forgo anything. Look at the way Africa is today. The Africans are not ready to forgo anything. They are not ready to stand on their feet. So until they realize that there is power in uniqueness, and once they realize there's power in uniqueness, they will now create an environment that will allow people's gifts and talent to flourish. But if you don't understand this, how are they going to do it? You talk about it and you give them the whole money in the universe, it's like something flush inside the toilet. Because of one particular thing. Because of one knowledge. That knowledge is the foundation of everything. Nobody is poor. Nobody is poor. The only time somebody is poor because the person is not using his uniqueness. Africa is not poor. The only thing is that the productivity could only come from your uniqueness. And that is the purpose for which I've written this, my book, The Big R of a Successful Business. Helping you to define yourself, helping you to understand this uniqueness, helping you to understand that this is a value for which you possess. This is what makes a difference. It's not the barrier that makes a difference or big houses. It is the gift God buried inside of you. It helps you to tap into it. So you become unstoppable instead of whining and moaning every day and fighting wars. People who have something to do don't fight wars. They don't engage themselves in rituals. They don't engage in it because already they possess everything. They don't keep on making noise all the time. So you got the opportunity now to read this book, The Big R of a Successful Business. It helps you to discover your goals. It helps you to define yourself so that the society can move forward. As I'm speaking, I'm defining myself. That's why I'm happy. That's why I'm proud of what I'm doing. Thank you.